When we think about major wars, it's usually the huge, famous battles that grab all the headlines. But so often, it's the smaller, pivotal fights that really change everything. Today, we're going to dive into one of those, the Battle of Gowainghat, a really crucial but often overlooked struggle that basically decided the fate of Sylhet during the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War.
So, take a good look at this map. This isn't just geography, right? It's more like a storyboard for the entire battle. It lays out the whole battlefield where a super high-stakes military operation was about to unfold, an operation that would unlock the door to the major city of Sylhet.
All right, so to really get this battle, we first have to understand what was at stake. Why was this one small area, Gowainghat, so incredibly important? Gowainghat was the absolute linchpin for the Pakistani Army in this whole region. Think of it as their central nervous system. It controlled the main artery, the Sylhet-Tamabil road, so it controlled all movement and all supplies. It was a heavily fortified base, it acted as a shield for the critical Sylhet airport, and it was the main supply depot for Radhanagar. Bottom line, if you wanted to take Sylhet, you had to take Gowainghat first.
And the Mukti Bahini, they understood this perfectly. They had already tried one attack that didn't go exactly to plan. But they didn't retreat. No way. Instead, they saw a new opportunity, a moment of weakness they knew they could exploit, with a bold, new strategy.
See, that first assault, even though it wasn't a complete victory, it had a huge psychological effect. It really rattled the Pakistani forces, weakened their morale, and, this is the crucial part, it caused a huge rift to appear within their own ranks. This was the opening the freedom fighters had been waiting for.
And right here, the whole dynamic of the fight just shifted. Can you imagine this? One unit, the 30th Frontier Force, straight up refuses orders and clashes with another unit. They were so fed up, they just abandoned their posts and started walking back to Sylhet. For the Mukti Bahini, this wasn't just dissent. This was a golden opportunity.
So Captain Nabi jumps on this moment. He comes up with this elegant and brilliantly simple plan. Put together a dedicated joint assault force, set the attack for pre-dawn to cause maximum confusion, and use the natural cover of darkness and thick fog to achieve total, absolute surprise.
With the plan locked in, the stage was set. The date was December 3rd, and as night fell, the weather itself decided to become a key player in the drama that was about to unfold.
Yeah, we're not talking about a little bit of mist here. The sources describe a dense, heavy fog that just blanketed everything. It was a double-edged sword, really. It gave incredible cover to the advancing troops, but it also created this tense, disorienting world where you could barely see your own hand in front of your face.
In these final hours, the tension was just off the charts. By 3 a.m., every single fighter was in position, silent, just waiting. An hour later, you've got Captain Nabi on the riverbank, hiding behind a tree, making his final coordinations. And then, at exactly 4:30 a.m., it was time.
The signal goes up, and the night just explodes. The final phase of the plan, the direct assault across the river, is officially on.
A single green flare cuts through the fog. That's the go signal. Instantly, the Mukti Bahini opens fire, and just as fast, the Pakistani bunkers erupt with a furious counterattack. The battle is on.
So what you have here is a clash of two totally different tactics. The Mukti Bahini were all about surprise and the focused firepower of their recoilless rifles to get them across that river. Meanwhile, the Pakistani forces were dug in deep, defending from reinforced bunkers with heavy machine guns and mortars, totally determined to hold that line.
And this right here, this was the game changer. The freedom fighters weren't just firing randomly, they were surgical. They systematically targeted the enemy's heavy weapons bunkers. With devastating accuracy, their recoilless rifles started knocking out machine guns and mortars, effectively cutting the Pakistani defensive firepower in half. With the enemy fire suppressed, Captain Nabi gave the order. D Company pushed off into the river. And this number, 20, just think about what that represents. 20 small boats, full of soldiers, crossing a river in the dark, in the middle of a massive firefight, to assault a fortified position. Just an incredible act of courage.
So as the assault team landed on the opposite bank and the fighting got even more intense, the darkness finally started to fade. And with that first light of dawn came the turning point of the entire battle.
Just before 6 in the morning, with the sky getting lighter, something strange happened. The Mukti Bahini fighters noticed the Pakistani gunfire wasn't aimed at them anymore. It had changed direction. They realized they weren't fighting back. They were covering a retreat.
And that was it. That was the moment the defense just completely collapsed. The well-defended line broke. Under immense pressure, the Pakistani soldiers started pulling back, firing as they went. The Mukti Bahani pressed their advantage, hammering the retreating forces with mortars as D Company successfully stormed and captured the now-abandoned positions.
And so we come full circle, back to our map. But now, it's not a plan, it's a map of a victory. By the morning of December 4th, the battle was over. Gowainghat was liberated.
The result was decisive. All the enemy positions were captured, local collaborators known as Razakars surrendered in huge numbers, and most importantly, the strategic objective was achieved. The lock had been broken. The gateway to Sylhet was now wide open.
You know, the Battle of Gowainghat is such a powerful reminder that history isn't just shaped by huge armies. It's shaped by these moments of insight, by exploiting an enemy's weakness, and by the raw bravery of small groups of determined people. It really leaves us with a question, doesn't it? How can a single, well-planned act of courage truly change the course of a war?